Hey guys, what's going on? It's a bit of an ominous fall day here in New England. I think we're trying to dodge a 20% chance of rain, but I wanted to give you some seasonably appropriate book recommendations, starting with Something Wicked This Way Comes by Bradbury. It's the story of a dark carnival that rolls into town and how it affects the lives mainly of two teenage boys living there. I don't think it's aimed at children. Bradbury always seems to have this precious, innocent tone to his writing. It's very whimsical, it's very fanciful, very literary. I do enjoy it, but going into Bradbury, I have to pre-suppress some of my eye-rolling tendencies. But there is a big reward to doing that. I've liked every book I've read of his. Martian Chronicles, definitely top of the list. He's a bit of a vibe master. It's not so much about what he's saying, but more how it tastes, and you kind of have to get used to that. But a great book in its own right, especially when you have the bonus of being seasonally themed. Similar to Coraline by Neil Gaiman, in that this is a book aimed at children, but every adult I've talked to who has read it agrees it's spooky even by adult standards. It's about a young girl who moves into a new home and she finds a secret doorway to a new family. And she has been noticing the shortcomings of her own family. Bit of a be careful what you wish for kind of thing. You can read it in a day, perfect around Halloween time, highly recommended. I don't know how much I've talked about Neil Gaiman on this channel, but I'm a huge fan. Every book I've read of his, I've gotten super engrossed in. American Gods is definitely on my top 10. I got 4 more books to recommend, but I'm gonna take my bike out, try and find a nice fall backdrop, and hope it doesn't rain. All right, let's go. Well, this isn't the most natural fall backdrop here, but I thought it was appropriate for these next 2 books I'm going to recommend. First, At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, what I think is far and away his best work. It's about a scientific expedition to Antarctica in the late 1800s, early 1900s that yields some interesting results. It's more accessible than some of his other stuff. H.P. Lovecraft can be very taxing to read, overly verbose, a lot of words that are not in anyone's vocabulary. But At the Mountains of Madness is the exact median of all of H.P. Lovecraft's stuff. So if you want an idea of who he was, what he wrote about, read At the Mountains of Madness. And it's a great story. It's an engaging story, even though it's written in that ancient Gothic Frankenstein journal writing kind of format. He still manages to pull you into it, which is pretty incredible. And next is The Trial by Franz Kafka, a book that when I first reviewed it, I recommended no one ever read it. I said, I took the bullet, don't bother, it's depressing, it's dark. And I got some flack for that. Rightfully so. I should never discourage people to read an author to that degree. But I said that because it is a depressing book, it is a dark book, it does evoke anxiety and these feelings of helplessness, because Kafka is a vibe master like Bradbury, but he's a dark vibe master. He works with anxiety and depression and hopelessness really well to put you in this mood. Like this book, which is about a hellscape bureaucracy where a guy is accused of this crime, but everything is vague. They don't tell him exactly what's going on, but they keep stringing him along with all of these accusations and all of these necessary commitments that they give him. And as the reader, the whole time you're confused. You're not sure what's going on, just like the main character. You're kind of frustrated, but you also see that you don't really have a choice in the matter. And even though the truth is not presented to you, that doesn't really matter. And when the truth doesn't matter, you get put in a really weird spot. And by the end of the book, although I will say this is an unfinished work, which makes it a little less satisfying, but by the end, the main character is so muddled by this whole thing that he starts believing he actually did something, which is truly the scariest part of it. And this eye back here is the perfect setting to read this book in as well. Okay, I'm going to move this camera here. We actually have a natural fall landscape behind us here. Let's see if I can. Next up we got Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. A story a lot of people probably know about. Apparently Washington Irving was the first professional American author, which I thought was interesting. also apparently one of the progenitors of the short story, which I had a harder time believing. Maybe people in the comments can confirm or deny. Legend of Sleepy Hollow has the perfect fall vibes. It's a very short story. Everyone probably knows Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman. And what I really liked about it was that Ichabod Crane is from Connecticut, where I'm from, where we're at right now. And back in the day, Connecticut was known for producing great scholars and great naturalists, which is a lot better than what it's known for today, which is just a bunch of rich people, which is a pretty unfortunate stereotype to have. When people learn you're from Connecticut, that's probably the first thought a lot of them have, and is just simply untrue for the vast majority of us. But anyways, it also has a lot of other stories in it. I just read this very interesting account of a Native American chief, and Washington Irving was very sympathetic to the Native Americans in a way I didn't think a lot of people were back then. But he had pretty much the modern perspective on the whole thing back when it was happening, which was uplifting in a way. I enjoyed reading that. And also Rip Van Winkle, which I'm about to read. I can't confirm that that has fall vibes, but I assume it does. And lastly, we have Carrie by Stephen King, but I also would recommend anything King did back in the golden era, like The Stand or It, but those are about 3 times the length of Carrie, so I recommend this one. It's about an alienated high school girl who learns that she has supernatural powers and then uses those supernatural powers in a way you would expect a bullied high schooler to. And as a former bullied high schooler, I found a lot of solace in that because I did read this back when I was in high school. I know Stephen King doesn't get recommended a lot here on BookTube, and he's kind of, poo-pooed. And I understand he's not the most literary. There's not a lot of depth to his books, and especially his more recent stuff is a little mixed. But he's a great storyteller, and he is super accessible. It's really easy to get immersed in a Stephen King book, especially the older stuff. So I recommend it to those trying to get into reading or trying to get back into reading particularly. And that's what I got for you on this beautiful fall day. The sun is trying to come out. We did dodge the rain, so that's good. I'm about to sit right here on this rock, perfectly molded to my backside, read Rip Van Winkle, and enjoy the season. Hope you guys do as well. Hope at least one of these recommendations enticed you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.